You know, I've sort of got this one foot in this kind of healthier lifestyle, and I'm doing things that supposedly are right. And I got this other foot, I'm a party girl, and I'm playing hard, and I'm doing things that I knew weren't really great for my health. You know, I've gone this route of what the doctor told me to do. That doesn't seem to be working. So something, you know, yeah, it may sound a little woo-woo to some of you, but just something, you know, I realized I had an internal compass that was always guiding me, and it said, go take care of yourself. You're going to have to heal yourself. I called my gay friend Daryl, who had a house on Rhode Island, the coast of Rhode Island. I said, can I have your house for a week? I go to Rhode Island, I take a bag of brown rice and a bag of dark barley miso. Now remember, I'm the girl who doesn't want to eat brown rice because I thought for sure it would make me gain weight. And I go to Daryl's house alone, and I cook brown rice in an aluminum pot, burn it every single time, crusty old black, you know, bottom. My idea of miso soup was diluting the miso in hot water, way too salty, and drinking it. But after 5 days of doing this, sitting on the beach, looking at the ocean, looking inside myself, going, I have to make changes, you know, because this is not life-threatening, but it could become that. I mean, I just knew intuitively something had to shift. So I came back to New York City without fever, without the symptoms. They did not come back. So something worked somewhere. I remember getting back into New York City, I guess it was Grand Central Station, immediately going to a bookstore at the corner of Fifth Avenue, for those of you that know New York, 5th and 14th, buying a book on macrobiotics. The book of macrobiotics, it's still on my bookshelf today. And I went home and I read it, you know, in 2 or 3 days. Now, macrobiotics was popular at this point in New York. It had been around before, it had kind of gone out of vogue, it was back, you know, in the mainstream, well, I don't know if that was really quite mainstream, but it was out there and all us healthy nuts. And the first thing that I learned from macrobiotics is you have to cook for yourself. I didn't know how to cook. I didn't have a pot and pan in my kitchen. All I had was a coffee thing, right? So I went and I bought pots and pans, probably not very good ones in the beginning, later making an investment in better pots and pans. I read cookbooks, I bought cookbooks. I didn't have any cooking skills. I'd grown up in a family where, you know, by the time I got old enough to maybe cook, my mom was taking us to these restaurants. And I was a terrible cook in the beginning, really for a lot of years, and just stayed with it because immediately I started feeling better. No doubt about it. I also learned something else from macrobiotics. The name of this conference today, You Are What You Eat. There's no doubt about it. And I've thought a lot about that this week. Like, wow, you know, what does that really mean? There's a book. I think there was a book like in the 80s or something called You Are What You Eat. That was a bestseller. And it's interesting, before we started, I was watching or reading what the children were writing, and some kids were up there, and what people had written. And it got me to thinking, yeah, we are what we eat. I mean, if you eat the animal, the flesh, and you drink the milk of a 3,000-pound animal that's really made that milk to feed its baby, to grow up to be that 3,000-pound animal, do you become like that animal sooner or later? If you eat that fine, powdery substance, and that's mostly what you eat, what's that do to your insides? Hollows them out, makes your bones all soft, makes your hair all brittle, your nails don't want to grow. I mean, those are some of the minor things. So, macrobiotics taught me about balance. That is its true, you know, sort of underlying tenet. And it's based on these Asian principles, ancient Asian principles called yin and yang, very popular and very trendy, the sign with the little, you know, squiggly going down the middle, you know, dark on one side, light on the other side. And yin and yang is two opposite forces that are contrary forces that get interconnected in the middle. Now, macrobiotics also means big life. And here I was in my life at this crossroads going, I want a big life. I'm 20 some odd years old, and I don't want to spend the rest of my life being driven by food, being on yo-yo diets, you know, with, as I said, one foot, you know, sort of in the health thing and another foot definitely not in it. So when you think of yin and yang, it's yang, yang, people say it differently, yin and yang. Yin, macrobiotically speaking, is expansive. If you think about the kinds of foods that are expansive, sugar, fruit juice, tobacco, recreational drugs, what else? Anybody know? Alcohol, thank you, tobacco, smoking. Yang is the opposite. It's contracting foods. Contracts in you. Salt is the biggest yanger, and animal products, and cheese, eggs, other dairy products, milk. So those are the foods that we really have to look at and go, look, I know most people aren't going to become a vegan in this lifetime. Probably not even going to become a vegetarian. But can you look at eating those foods and eating them way less? So then you say, well, okay, what do I eat? And I always like to think of this perfect, ideal day, not just a meal, because you can do it throughout the day. You don't always have to get it in the exact same meal. And I think about eating grains from the earth, leaves that grow above the ground, roots that grow under the ground, things that come from the sea, fish possibly, or sea vegetables, proteins that have been talked about here today that come from plants, and then something called a pickle that's been in all cultures, all diets throughout the world, and we're losing it in the standard, we've already lost it in the standard American diet. Something that's fermented that helps with your digestion. And that truly is what a macrobiotic plate is. It's really, doesn't always sound so sexy, it's a grain and vegetable-based diet. And the more you can eat whole grains, vegetables, proteins from plants, fruits, because we live in beautiful California and we grow them in our backyard. Traditionally, macrobiotic kind of stays away from fruits. They think they're too yin, but we live here and it's okay. This is how you want to be eating. I mean, this is why I feel I got brought here today. This is what I've done so well with Real Food Daily, is to wake some of you up, because everybody's in a different place along your path, to how can I incorporate more of these foods into my diet on a daily basis. When I talk about whole grains, they're whole grains that are whole. They haven't been processed, they haven't been cracked, the bran hasn't been removed or the outer shell. Brown rice, all kinds of brown rices, long grain, short grain, medium grain, basmati, brown jasmine rice, I love that. Quinoa, very popular, easy grain to cook. Breads, pastas, they're fine. You're definitely going to have those in your diet, but you don't want to be living off breads and pastas believing that you're getting your whole grains. You also don't want to be duped by Madison Avenue and cereal companies who advertise that you can get your whole grains from a box of cereal. Now, yeah, it may have oats that really came from an oat groat, but, you know, and don't get me going on the box of cereal because it's all loaded with sodium and sugars. Read the ingredients, they're right up there at the top. So whole grains, very important. Plant proteins, where do you get them? Beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, soy products, but the high-end soy products, the tempeh, edamame, tofu, not in the soy milk. Soy milk is the most processed of the soybeans. And fine to eat soy milk, you're going to put it on your good quality cereal or granola or oatmeal. But I meet people who go, oh, I get my soy from soy milk, and that's not what you want to rely on. And you definitely, I was in on the panel that was up here earlier, maybe most of you were probably in here, you know, you want to stay away from all these soy isolates that are hidden. They're in the ingredient list, but they're in foods to use as fillers. You want to get it the purest form as possible. And there's nothing really wrong with tofu. You eat everything within moderation. And then vegetables. I mean, does anybody in here not like vegetables? No, we all love them. They're there, they're easy, they're accessible. Well, it's changing. I know.